What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am back with another video, where this time I want to go in depth on the Steph Curry vs Magic Johnson debate. And you may be saying, there's not really a debate for the greatest point guard of all time. And yes, right now that may be true, as Magic is widely regarded as the GOAT point guard. But in this video, I want to give my case as to why Steph Curry in the coming years could actually have an outside shot at taking that crown from Magic. And before I get in this video, I just want to say, Magic, in my opinion, right now, is the greatest point guard of all time, and most likely, when it's all said and done and Steph is retired, he will still be the GOAT point guard. But in this video, I'm going to explain to you guys what Steph has to do to catch Magic, and I'm going to give a couple arguments as to why Steph could be argued as the GOAT point guard right now. And the first reason I have is that Steph Curry is more skilled as a basketball player than Magic Johnson. When it comes to things like ball handling, Steph Curry, his crossover, his step backs, his hesitation moves, and to the overall flow of Steph Curry's game, it's obviously much more impressive than Magic, and the handles Steph has right now are probably second only Kyrie, and the way he can use those handles to create his own shot is something Magic Johnson did not have. Also, one part of the game Steph excels at is finishing at the basket and around the rim, and I think this part of Steph's game is highly underrated, as his acrobatic finishes are some of the best in the entire league and in NBA history. And when Steph isn't driving to the basket and finishing around bigs, he's probably shooting it from 30 to 35 feet like nobody we've ever seen. And that is one more part of Steph's game that is way more advanced than Magic's. Now, to be fair to Magic, that is in part due to the era difference, but Steph overall is pretty clear. He's the much more skilled shooter, off the dribble, off the catch, around the pick and roll. Anytime Steph wants to get his own shot, he can do that by creating his own offense, something Magic as a scorer definitely struggled with in his career. Now, my second point of how you could argue Steph is greater than Magic is Steph Curry, his best year in the NBA is simply better than Magic Johnson's. And I would look to the 2016 MVP year, where he averaged 30.1 points per game, 6.7 assists, 5.4 boards, 2.1 steals, on insane 50, 45, and 90 splits. And that was while leading Golden State to a 73-9 record, the most wins in NBA history. And this year, Steph led the NBA in scoring, steals, as well as free throw percentage. And that year by Steph is the most efficient high-volume year from a player in NBA history. Also, this year in 2021, as an individual basketball player, I believe that year from Steph is better than any of Magic's years in his career, as in 2021, he averaged 32 points per game, which led the NBA, 5.8 assists, 5.5 boards, but once again very impressive, 48, 42, and 91 splits. And when looking at 2016 as well as 2021, comparing those two, they're both all-time great years, and what really stands out is how efficient Steph was in both those seasons. And once again, that's one thing Steph Curry has over Magic tremendously. He is the most efficient player of the 2010s, the most efficient point guard of all time, and arguably the most efficient player in NBA history. Now next up, we get the fact that Steph was the more impactful player in his time than Magic was, and I am strictly talking about on-the-court impact. As Steph Curry during his time has completely changed the NBA, how teams draft players, how they value players, how they trade players, Steph Curry's impact has influenced every aspect of basketball because of his great shooting ability. In the 2016 season, we saw an explosion from Steph, as well as the entire NBA, as that year Golden State showed teams league-wide you could win championships and win a lot of games shooting a lot of threes. And over the past 5 years, we've seen an offensive explosion like we've never seen. In 2021, you have teams with offensive ratings that are simply absurd. That's in large part due to one Steph Curry. Now, one argument people would have is that Magic, as a big point guard, was highly influential. And I do agree with that, but I think Steph, as a shorter point guard, has still had a bigger impact, as Steph shooting threes has not only affected him, small guards, big guards, it's affected every single player and every single position. Magic, even though his impact was great, he simply did not affect all 5 positions. That is something that Steph Curry definitely did. Now, it's one thing for me to say all this, but the stats also back this up tremendously. As if you look at the NBA's leader in three-pointers made in 2021, 2014, 2004, and 1994, you have the Jazz, the Rockets, the Sonics, and once again the Rockets. And there's a gradual increase that suddenly spikes after the 2014 season, when Steph Curry effectively entered his prime. And in 2021, the team in the NBA that takes the least amount of threes is the Cleveland Cavaliers at 28.6. If you compare that Cavs team, which is the worst three-point shooting team in the league, they would still rank first by 2 threes, nearly doubling the 04 Sonics and the 94 Rockets. Now next up, we have the fact that Steph has the better playoff peak than Magic Johnson. And when I talk about peak, I'm looking at a 5-year period and how they played in the playoffs. And for Steph, this would be from 2015 to 2019, where he averaged 27.2 points per game, 5.9 assists, 5.7 boards on 45, 40, and 90 splits. Compared to Magic, whose playoff peak was from 84 to 88, and he averaged 19.6 points per game, 13.6 assists, 6.7 boards on 53, 20, and 82 splits. Definitely very comparable numbers, but I think Steph's proficiency is a level above Magic Johnson. And just so you guys know, during this time period, both players won 3 championships. But again, Steph's scoring ability and his overall level of shooting provides the added edge over one Magic Johnson. Now, also one aspect of basketball that is very important when evaluating players is how great they are on the biggest stage, that being the NBA Finals. And Steph Curry in his career has played in 28 Finals games, and in those games, he averaged 26.5 points per game, 6.2 assists, 5.7 boards on 42, 38, and 92 splits, which for an all-time great player with a high volume is definitely very impressive for the NBA Finals. Now looking at Magic in his career, he averaged 19.4 points per game, 11.7 assists, 7.9 boards on 51, 23, and 87 splits. Once again, these raw stats are definitely comparable, and it is very even. I would even go as far to say it's pretty much a tie on how these players are as an overall finals performer. But I think if you look at the individual series of how Magic as well as Steph played, Magic Johnson had the worst finals chokes compared to Steph Curry. And yes, Steph in the finals blew a 3-1 lead, but in that series overall, he still played fairly well. When you look at the 83, 84, as well as 89 finals, Magic in those series did not bring his best to the court. In the 83 finals, he was swept 4-0 by Philadelphia. In the 84 finals, he choked numerous times versus the Boston Celtics. In the 89 finals versus Detroit, LA was once again swept, averaging 11.7 points per game, 8.0 assists, 3.7 boards on 46, 20, and 90 splits. So those 3 final series from Magic definitely weren't his best. And if you want to compare that finals resume to Steph, it gets fairly interesting, as Steph in his career has played in 5 NBA Finals, and only in one of those can you argue he underperformed, that being the 2016 Finals. And 2015, in my opinion, he was robbed of the Finals MVP. And if you look at 2017 as well as 2018, he performed great in those final series. In 2019, he had his best overall series, averaging 30.5 points a game, 6.0 assists, with 5.2 boards. And if you look at all 5 of those series in a row, that right there is a great finals performer, despite what the narratives say. Now my last point in this video, and my last argument for Steph, has to do with the Western Conference for both these players. Steph for his career arguably played in the toughest conference in NBA history compared to Magic, who arguably played in the weakest conference ever. When you compare both these players, Steph already has beaten more 50-win teams, and when it comes to teams under 500, Magic faced more of those than Steph Curry. And some might argue Steph had the more stacked rosters compared to Magic, which you definitely could argue. But I think everyone knows Magic in his own right played on some stacked Lakers teams. You had Kareem, James Worthy, Michael Cooper, Byron Scott, Norm Nixon, Jamal Wilkes, and a host of other great role players on those Lakers teams. And when you're playing in the 80s West, the weakest conference in NBA history, it's definitely easier to make the NBA Finals. So to kind of wrap this up, my main points for Steph being greater than Magic and being the better point guard, if I wanted to make that argument, which again, I don't say right now, but in the future if Steph wins 2 more championships, maybe a Finals MVP, as well as another MVP, the GOAT point guard argument is going to get very, very interesting, very, very fast. So I wanted to make this video almost 5 to 7 years in advance to kind of set the stage for what you could argue later on in Steph's career. And once again, my main points is Steph He's the more skilled basketball player. He had the better MVP year, and at his peak was the better overall player. He was more impactful in the game of basketball and how it is played. He's the better playoff performer at his peak. He's the better finals performer, and he faced tougher competition in the Western Conference. So that right there is my argument for Steph possibly being the greatest point guard of all time. And to answer the title of this video, can Steph Curry surpass Magic? I think it's a long shot. It's very hard to dethrone someone who's been established for 30 to 35 years as far and away the greatest point guard. It's very hard to upend someone like that, and I think Steph, if I had to get a percentage, I would say anywhere from 15 to maybe 20%. It's going to be very, very hard, especially given the Warriors playing the Western Conference and Steph not having a great supporting cast. Now, as always, thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. Can Steph ever surpass Magic? Is he already the greatest point guard of all time? Let me know what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.